Families are preparing to send their children back to school, and some of the smallest safety tips can make a big difference. This is Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First. I'm Anastasia Olmos, joined by the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Special Agent in Charge, Marlo Graham, who is an expert in keeping people safe and also investigating crimes. One of the top ones going on right now is everything social media, with all of our children having cell phones in their hands. What are some of the safest things parents can do before handing over that phone?
Well, I will say the number one thing parents should do, they should lean in. They should pay attention to what's going on. Don't just hand your kid a phone without a full conversation, right? Let your kids know the horrors of what's out there. So that being said, we're seeing kids being targeted as young as age 7. So absolutely, kids need to know. For a kid that young, they need to know, hey, the people that you know online, they are not your real friends. So only share information about yourself, about our family, with your real friends. Don't share really private information with people that you know and have made acquaintance online, because it's unsafe. You will see young people pass out their full address, their phone number. They will talk about when they're going on a full 2-week vacation. Things like that are shared online just unwillingly by kids. And so we have to be mindful as parents to make sure that we are coaching our kids and teaching them what should and shouldn't be shared online.
First of all, the apps that, are out there now. I know there's been a lot of investigations into certain apps and, the tracking and the communication and things like that. Are there certain things that, when a child goes back to school, they're going to learn about, and friends are going to want them to get on an app that might not be safe? And have you seen any of that going on?
Well, we'll say online predators, they're where children are. So it's not a particular app. It's across the board. Naturally, the more popular apps, those individuals are present. And what we will see is predators will assume the identity of a child. They will purport to be another 11-year-old, another 6 or 7-year-old, right? And so you think, as the opposite side user, that you are talking to another child of your same age with your similar interests, where on the real, it's a 40-year-old man that is engaging or some sort of group that engages in this level of scheme and predatory behavior online.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Are there certain safeguards that parents can put on social media or apps to keep kids from being able to access these chats and things?
Absolutely. Every device, whether you have an Android or an Apple phone, every device has protective features that you can leverage. And it's an easy, just search online to find out what features you can lock in so that your kids don't, engage with chat conversations from online, so that they don't stream live. All these things you can put blocks in place. One of the big things that when we talked about back to school, you see that the big thing is to post that first day of school picture, right? And everyone has their little old school chalkboard with all this information listed. Parents, be mindful of what you share on those boards, because they can be leveraged. You're putting down your child's grade, so that's giving away their age. You're sometimes putting down their school, so that's giving a point of reference. And then even further, sometimes you're standing with that chalkboard in front of your house with the numeric of your house in the background. So there are many things that you have to really be careful for. We call it OPSEC, which is operational security. Have some OPSEC about yourself so that it keeps your young people safe, because that is the end goal. And we're talking about online safety, but that online image that you post could now have a physical safety concern.
Of course. I even just, came to my mind a video of them getting on the bus, and you can see the street name and a timestamp of when the video was posted. And somebody who has horrible motives could know that information when you are dropping your child off.
Yes, absolutely. And, it's scary to think of that, but that's where the adult has to have the reins and has to protect our kids. But we also have to have conversations with kids that they need to know. Hey, if you encounter someone online who's asking weird questions, who's asking you to do things that seem uncomfortable or strange, you need to have a trusted adult. Even if that's not mom or dad, maybe it's aunt or uncle, maybe it's older cousin. You need to have a trusted adult. It could be your teacher that you go to and let them know, hey, I was on whatever game or app and someone asked me this. That way we can engage and kind of correct course as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's another thing that, comes to mind is the conversations that parents should be having with their children prior to going to school, especially when they think that everybody's their friend. Mm-hmm. And that innocence is, I'm jealous of it, but also can be, naive. And so what kind of conversations should parents have before the first day of school?
Very direct, right? Very direct conversations, but comfortable. But kids are resilient and they're smart. So don't ruin their innocence per se, but you need to let them know, hey, if you see anything weird, it's just like we ask all the time. You see something, say something. So if you see something that makes you feel uncomfortable, share. Tell me, tell your teacher, tell your dad. The biggest thing, these things go very underreported. Kids are bullied. There's sextortions that are happening, things that are happening online. A lot of it goes unreported, and people just kind of keep that in because there's some shame that comes with it. And so just for kids to disclose is the number one thing. And in order for them to disclose, they have to feel comfortable to do so. And so that's where we need parents and other adults to come into play.
And to just slow down as parents, right? Yes. Hopefully anybody listening to this will kind of just take a second to think about, okay, I just need to have this conversation with my child and just make sure that they know that they can come and talk to me. Because as we talk about technology, parents are on technology too all the time and working and busy and all these sorts of things.
Sometimes it just requires 10 minutes of your time. Get on the floor and lay next to them while they're playing on their game. Have a look at what's going on. Pay attention to the chats. Pay attention to the conversation. Ask questions that you would ask as, oh, well, maybe I'm the stupid adult who doesn't know about this app. Oh, why did they do that? Tell me about this, and let them coach you through. They may actually disclose something that you would be uncomfortable with without them even recognizing, right? And so that's a coachable, teachable moment that you could have just by taking a few 10 or so minutes out of your time.
The FBI with parenting advice.
Oh man, it's scary, but in the end, over time, I've seen so many young people that have fallen victim to things that are happening online. I will say in Georgia right now, we literally have had people under the age of 17 be victim of at least $3 million worth of scams and fraud and extortions that are happening online.
In a year or?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's
and is this
13 million nationwide, but in a year's time, yes. Young people in the state of Georgia have fallen victim, and where the sextortions work out where it's like, hey, if you don't share this information, or if you don't share this photo or this video, then I'm going to disclose something. Or so if you don't pay money to me to keep me from sharing the photo, and then if now you need to pay me more money. And so that just snowballs. And then next thing you know, you have, a 14-year-old who shared thousands of dollars with a complete stranger, a person that they think is their friend, but it's actually an adult who is a predator on the other side that's now collecting money to keep from sharing a photo of a live stream that maybe they captured an image that they didn't think they were gonna. And so it's very challenging. And these are the things that we have to warn our young people to protect themselves from. And it's really, continue to ask, is this a friend from school or is this an online friend? Because if it's not a friend in real life, that's where you need to be leery.
Yes. And so looking at the math, just trying to do some crunching of investigative work as you're talking, 13 million nationwide, 3 million here in Georgia, which means that we have a significant amount of this going on.
We're actually the number one state right now for victims of sextortion. monetarily extortions that are happening. Yes. So we have a significant problem. And what I will say for our sextortions, things that especially as the preteens, young teens should know is like, hey, this person on the other end, they're fictional. They are not real. Overwhelming majority of our sextortions are international. They're coming from other countries. So they're not even domestic. So here you are, you think you're sharing your image with and it's a lot of young boys that are the victims. So here you are, a boy, think you've made an acquaintance online who's a young lady that you're interested in. It's not a young lady on the other side. And so that is where the hurt and the shame comes into play, because now you've shared this explicit image and now you're paying money to keep that image from being shared further on the internet. So it's a lot that goes on, but it's very easy to protect our kids from, just to have conversations.
Okay. Wow. And, that next, part of that, if a child comes to their parent and says, uh-oh,
Yes.
So I think I'm in something, and I don't think that this was a, 10-year-old girl.
Yes.
What can they do? They reach out to you right away?
Absolutely. We have our Internet Complaint Center, ic3.gov, that you can reach out to. You can file a complaint, and they will take your complaint in, and they will make sure it's routed to the appropriate location. And then normally an FBI agent who is the duty agent of a particular field office will reach out to you for further questions to ensure that it's looked at. Normally what will happen behind the scenes before a person actually contacts you, they will kind of take your information, compare it to see if it's any similar cases that have been reported. And then if there are similar cases and there's a particular field office that's leading the charge there, then they'll route you to them so that they can make contact with you.
Yes. And if it's an international person, or, ring,
Yes.
who knows? And
Yeah.
Are you guys able to stop what's going on?
The challenge is getting them back to be able to fully prosecute. That's where the challenge lies. So what we are able to do typically is kind of shut it down and keep further victims from being exploited. But what ends up happening is they open up a new account, go to a new location. So it's just, the cycle just continues, because it is very challenging for us to bring those individuals to the United States to see justice.
Oh my goodness.
So it's challenging.
Yeah, and that expands beyond children. I know that we do stories all the time of seniors and even military relationships and things like that, you just can't catch these criminals. And best thing to do is that online safety, because that's how they're reaching our children. And so, overall, sextortion, it does fall into, hoax and people misrepresenting. There are so many different ways where people can reach our children through these hoax. Are there certain ones that you're seeing kind of at the middle school, high school level?
Well, with the hoax, I would say there's hoax threats. You hear them all the time. Someone calls in a bomb threat to a school. Someone calls one into an airport. And we see those a lot at the beginning of the school year. We see them around like finals time for at the collegiate level, sometimes high school, collegiate level. And it's individuals that they think it's a joke. They think it's funny, and they want to get out of school, right? It's not a joke. And it's not funny. It actually can be very dangerous, because as law enforcement is always responding as if it is real. Yeah. And so it puts our law enforcement partners, it puts people at risk. And the reality is, it's a felony, right? So if you're a young person who maybe has recently turned of age, and you can get a felony by calling in a hoax threat. And so the real message right now is just to make sure everyone knows, don't do that. And if you receive a hoax threat that comes via forward, whether it's text or online, don't forward, don't share, because then it makes you part of the problem as well. So hoax threats, they're not a joke. They're not funny. You can get charged, and we want to protect young people. So we want them to know, hey, you can get in trouble for this. And the last thing you would want to be is a young person who has a criminal record because you thought something was funny. So definitely just take it seriously and know if you do see someone that is forwarding something that looks like a threat, let an adult know, and they will. Normally what will happen is 911 will be called and our first responders, our state and local partners will respond.
Yeah, and you guys have the capability to track and figure out
Yes.
who posted
Yes.
what went out.
Yes, and so what usually happens is that we run things to ground, right? We investigate to see who submitted this hoax, and a lot of times you will find that individuals have a history of submitting threats that are hoax, and so then that's where the investigation component begins, and you start to run it down to figure out, okay, where is this person? Can we charge them? Can we fully identify who they are?
And then, when you say, not to share, a lot of times, if I'm on Facebook or something, I'll see certain community groups that feel safe, like it's just the small community, or maybe it's parents of this high school, and then they share something and then it gets out. And, where's that fine line of, wait, this could be legitimate and I want to share this with other parents?
So when it comes to, if there's a safety warning or something, that's different. What I'm speaking of is when, hey, there's a current active shooter at ABC High School, and it comes across via a text message or a threat that says, "Oh, I'm going to shoot ABC High. I'm going to shoot at ABC High School," and it says in 20 minutes, right? Hey, don't forward it. Call the police and let them respond, right? Or the hoax, the community that recognizes and knows it's a hoax, they're sitting back laughing and they're watching the response. They're watching the chaos and the drama that they've created, and they're getting joy out of that. We want to look at it, take it seriously, and not continue the pattern by forwarding. We want to call the police and respond and have them respond. And a lot of times what you will find is that even before they respond, they can determine whether it's a hoax or not and actually put that messaging out to usurp the initial kind of forward that everyone's looking for.
I can't imagine the strain on law enforcement to have to deal with so many of these hoax when sometimes they have turned out to be legitimate. And so you have to take everyone as law enforcement serious.
Yes, which is why we say it's such a drain on law enforcement resources when kids are doing this and they just think it's a joke. It's like, no, this is not a joke. And usually they come in waves, right? So one hoax, then another, then another, then another. It's not like you get one a month kind of thing. They come in waves. And back to school is one of the time periods where we see an uptick.
My goodness. Is there any, safety advice that you would give families, ahead of school? We mentioned having those conversations specifically about social media and friends and stuff, but also the conversations about what to do if they are on a lockdown, or what to do in a situation where they're, say there's an active shooter drill going on. Any types of advice that parents should address with their children before?
I as a parent, I always say, follow the instructions of the adult. Follow what you have been taught and trained at school. Every school now has a responsibility to do drills, just like when we were kids, you had an earthquake drill, you had a tornado drill. Now you have active shooter drills. You have these drills at school. Do what is being taught, because the best techniques, the most accurate response, and things that you should do are being taught at every school, at every level.
Wow. Wonderful advice, not just as a special agent in charge of FBI here in Atlanta, but also as a parent. There's so much going on in this day and age, especially with technology and the access that children have. Yes. And just communication, the busyness. It's just, I hope that people listening to this just take away a couple things heading back to school. It's very scary for parents to send their kids to school nowadays.
Yes. We want it to be exciting.
Yeah.
We want it to be exciting, but this is just a new nuance, a new wrinkle that we have to account for and make sure that we've checked the box in keeping our kids safe. And so as the adult, share that information. And then once you've shared it, then you breathe a little easier. But if you go without addressing this issue, it's the elephant in the room for a lot of places. Address the issue, and then you can breathe with comfort and know that you've coached your kid up and they're going to do the right thing.
Love that. Okay. And so last thing is just for anybody that needs to report something to you, whether they find something going on online, like the IC3 tips, or if they feel like there's some rumors going around the school about how do they contact the FBI if they have some serious concerns?
Sure, 1-800-CALL-FBI. And that's our number. You can always call there. And they will guide you accordingly based on the information that you have to share, whether it's an online sextortion, whether it's a hoax threat or a real threat that exists. You can always call 1-800-CALL-FBI.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Thank you
sure
for
we
having
will
me.
keep in touch here throughout the school year. And hopefully, Georgia does not continue to lead the nation in the amount of money extorted from children.
Yes, we have a fantastic team. They are constantly working to keep kids safe. We do these kind of talks at schools regularly. So our goal is to get off of the number one spot for sure.
Thanks for tuning into Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First Investigates. For more on this story, go to atlantanewsfirst.com and click on the ANF Investigates tab. You can listen to more award-winning investigations wherever you get your podcasts by searching Behind the Investigation with Atlanta News First. And tune in Sundays for an hour-long episode of Uncovered, where we highlight some of our biggest investigations that impact our communities.